I am joined by the Anambra State Commissioner of Environment, Engineer Dr. Felix Odimegwu. Ụtụtụ ọma, Engineer.
Ụtụtụ ọma, ndị Anambra.
Keke ime. Happy to see you, Commissioner. Always a pleasure to interact with you. Of course, we know that the environment is supposed to be environment. We're going briefly. Environment.
Yes, thank you. In English, environment.
Okay.
You know, the entire ecosystem.
Yes.
That involves the biodiversity, the atmosphere, the surroundings, and quality the living conditions within the area. So, if I'm going to be surrounding here, habitat comprise of an environment, both the one in the air, the one on land, and the water bodies surrounding it. That's the entire biodiversity and the entire ecosystem within the area where one lives.
Okay, Commissioner, something because a lot of times I in an environment both also on Gaina Fuanya. Imago nana fuana nana fo leaves and all apupo gase ni he ono gase. The ones we don't see, like maybe sokewe pite guli magi he dini me mamili dini mana he so gase in environment, and if they do, how do they affect our lives?
Yes, they can the entire ecosystem is part of the environment. In our soccer way, and our soccer way, so to speak. Because exactly. The thing there is that every part of this environment have a way of affecting us.
Okay.
In one way or the other. You understand? They have a way of either adding or marrying our life. So, all the very important that that now, if these things have a way of affecting us, we should be wary of the conditions wherein the funnel, like the soccer way, for instance. That the fecal waste they generate millions of germs that can affect our lives. The amount that now the proper disposal of it will help to improve life.
You put the fecal you got a body good year kind of from.
If I know by the fecal sludge, but see that is the way system mother na lo we put anyo putalo. Abon see. Millions of bacteria.
Okay.
And this bacteria will a way that not only it is not properly disposed, will come back to affect the lives and the health of the people around there.
Okay.
And we'll go a situation whereby Omaka, due to improper disposal of nsea, now they are affected. Yotago. By way of contracting my cholera, my diarrhea, my all forms of water communicable diseases. Because na that nse or if I don't soccer way na amalo we me off ma leading to loss of lives. That is the ultimate loss. When something now leads to loss of lives, So it's very important that proper disposal of that is indeed needful.
Okay, especially Kitano and Milizobego. Are there things I was saying, Mandi Nonoka, Imago? I would like you to talk to actual cases, maybe mention certain spots I was worry of. You can even link this to drainages. Yeah, it's why we see where manage waste anyị so that we don't fall sick in this time?
Yes, I kwesịrị ịghọta that the improper management of waste, they can see cover with particular emphasis on the fecal waste. Not only fecal waste may lead to health problems, other waste materials now managed they lead to health problems. Now, keta mmiri na fezo. It's very important that now. Although very careful with our actions. Most times I know they like a destical. They find them. Nasma obasatarai. Madam will keep waste here. They dump on a drainage. I say after all, no milli blue bupi out of a bobby. Man on mamazi that action will lead to a problem somewhere. Maka waste here obuli up or there was a dump one. And eba for milli blue like dump one, I block go the drainage every milli naga. And the next thing they got flooded.
Okay.
Yotago. Maka milli do zeba open up for those zeba go see where na a push. Go this storm water and flood water through the drainage. But if I may be drainage look at that flood water where both in naga. Go really affect the environment. But no those zeba for no the waste in the man dump na gutter. There's a block on. And all block on the next thing, maybe a choba way, because water must find its level.
That's right.
A choba will get swept. Because there was blew my waste here, my everything moved here on the main road. Now, at that moment in time, it will deface that environment because everybody is very untidy and very unhygienic. And once it does that, my keeping waste there, my biodegradable, my even fecal waste, my all those stuff, capitalizing on the floor. And if you know, even the water bodies in the mother
Sure.
then the more just will affect their lives. Then the environment will make it to epidemic because now those things in their back no apatazena neuro. Yotago. We can generate breeding places for mosquito, sure. Breeding places for bacteria, breeding places for all forms of parasites. The next thing, people get affected. And then what it is, when people get affected, it has a lot of bang-on effect.
That's true.
It leads to death, it leads to poor productivity because the workforce will now be in the hospital instead of being productive, and so many other things that will happen. The economy will be on the downturn because almost and then the labor because now they are in the hospital, they treat them for the hospital and all those stuff. So if any know if I question that now man's action and even that is what somebody is doing that is not supposed to do, and then his own inaction, if you money question come with a cost.
That's right.
Huge cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. As we move on now, remember that you're watching FIDES Time here on FIDES Television, FIDES Media. And we have with us Engineer Dr. Felix Odimegwu, the Commissioner of Environment here in Anambra State. He's talking to us about achieving a cleaner and greener environment. Soon we'll talk about the greening aspect. But of course, you can comment. Let us know what is going on in your environment. You can ask questions and the Honorable Commissioner will answer your questions. Just put the question or contribution, suggestion in the comment section and we will read it out right here on the show. You can also let us know where you're tuning in from. Now, Honorable Commissioner, let's also talk about greening, a greener environment. Now, looking around Anambra, I know that the goal, you've shared this, that was during the Community Plastic Challenge last year, September. You were talking about the need for us to build, based on the philosophy of the present administration that you're serving actively in, a cleaner, greener, and sustainable Anambra. That's the whole idea. So how do all these three cardinals tie together? The clean aspect, green aspect, and sustainability?
Yeah, thank you. The working governor of Anambra State, in his manifesto, be very deliberate on what he wants to achieve, especially where it has to do with the environment. And that was why he launched the theme, a clean, green, and sustainable Anambra State. He wants to make Anambra State the cleanest state in Nigeria, and he's almost achieving that. Then apart from making Anambra State clean, then he also wants to bring in a situation whereby we have a green vegetation, a green tree cover in the state. Because we understand that the ecosystem needs to balance itself.
Okay.
You understand? For example, okay, you have air conditioners here, a fan here. Had there been there's none of these things here, and this whole place is jam-packed, and there's no ventilation. You understand? The next thing that will happen is that there will be shortage of oxygen.
Okay.
You know, and this is what we see happening in most of the areas where you have urbanization.
Yes.
You understand? Where the entire area become urbanized and industrialized, with buildings coming up here and there, and influx of people.
Yes.
In a particular area, such that even the air that the people now breathe in become sort of tainted. Yes. If you take, for instance, a measuring equipment and then measure the air within an industrialized area, you find out that air is tainted, it's sort of polluted. So what the greening aspect does is that it creates an atmosphere whereby, because the green cover, filters air. God has made a situation, a world in a situation whereby, the ecosystem balances itself. The plants bring out the oxygen that the animals take in. The animals bring out carbon dioxide that the plants take in, so as to create a balance. So what the governor wants to achieve, you understand, is a situation whereby the Anambra become more healthier.
Okay.
Because the air within which the areas where they live is filtered and it's clean air. Okay? Apart from that, the greening aspect also brings about environmental beauty. The ambience is serene and cool because of the cooling effect of the greens within the area. So, and the government of Anambra State right now is helping in achieving this. Right now, we're constructing a new government house and a new governor's lodge that will have tree covers all over the place. In fact, that will be reckoned to be the first green government house in Nigeria.
Wow.
Okay? There are a lot of greening initiatives that we've initiated. For example, most of the estates that are coming up now, we now have a framework for estates to have 35% of the buildable area to be covered with green.
Okay.
You understand, to where you have the grasses, the green cover, the open space and all that. So which means that it's only 65% that is buildable area. Okay.
Or even privately owned estates, not just government or...
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Interesting.
Well, about a month ago, we flagged off one that owned by Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon Estates, where he intentionally wants to bring in Amazon Forest copy.
Okay.
In that estate. You understand? So this is what we are advocating everywhere. We also initiated the birthday souvenir, tree souvenir for birthday. You understand? Anybody that's celebrating birthday will give the person a tree.
Okay.
A tree seedling to go and plant in commemoration of his birthday. Okay? And then we initiated also the one household plant 2 trees initiative. In your house, you have to plant at least 2 trees a year in your house. And the government also has distributed over 1 million trees every year. You understand? Every year we distribute coconuts, seedlings, and oil palm seedlings, so as to have a green cover.
Okay, perfect.
And also help to alleviate poverty. Because when you're distributing most of these economic trees, that people tend to create wealth using those. So that is the greening aspect of the theme. And then the involvement of the people.
Yes, very important.
You understand? Makes it sustainable.
Okay.
Where the people themselves take ownership, and try to bequeath an environment for the future. The things that they do now become sustainable, it is viable, and then for the future also, they're leaving something that the future generation will see as bequeathed to them as something that is also
and improve upon.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. As we round off, of course, Honorable Commissioner will still have a part 2 of this interaction because I believe that some of the questions that will be coming. Okay, let me take this one. What can the common people in the interior villages do to help themselves with the sanitation, especially in this rainy season? I'll add something to that because now we're talking about the involvement of the people, how we can take ownership for our own sanitation, greening of the environment, knowing it is for our good health. Let's talk about the waste disposal, just taking it back to that because I actually wanted us to talk about waste to wealth. You can end with that anyway, but let's talk about what people can do. Because now you talk about waste disposal and then people are supposed to put it in a receptacle where it is collected by waste managers.
Yeah. Is
there supposed to be an ideal distance to residential places, or how can you see a place? Because sometimes some people will tell you, so what's supposed to be the process? And a general can you put in a main road, and in fact the entire urban cities in Anambra.
Yes, what we have at the moment, we have waste receptacles at different locations in the city. You understand? So these are places where they are designated for refuse disposal. When people drop their waste at these locations, the agents or the contractors that are mandated to evacuate them go there regularly to pick up this waste. Apart from that, we developed what we call the pay direct system.
Okay.
Areas that have organized setting, like the estates, they have organized associations, they have good leadership. You understand? We encourage them to take ownership of their waste by themselves. In such areas, the contractors mandated will go from house to house to pick up those waste. And in those areas also, we advocate that every household must have their disposal bins and also try as much as possible to bag their waste.
Okay.
Now, in areas where we don't have that kind of organized setting, we try to deploy means where the waste can be picked up, especially by having these designated receptacles in some of the locations. And frequently, the contractors move in and pick up this waste. You could remember, before the inception of this administration, everywhere in Anambra State were littered. We had situations where at some points we had heaps of refuse as high as almost 1-2-story building. A case in point was the Ochanja roundabout, and then this administration went on to deal with those level of litters.
Okay.
Dealt with them, and we're moving from that to the what you might now term the waste to wealth arrangement.
Okay.
For the people, most times if you don't incentivize the system, they may not really be so eager to
adopt the new behavior. Okay.
Now, we are moving into a just transition.
Okay.
You understand, to net zero emission through circular economy. Circular economy is a system that helps to create an avenue where waste will no longer be regarded as waste. It will be regarded as a resource for other products. So in this regard, you find out that any waste at the end of its life begins a new life for another product.
That's right.
So in circular economy, we have the 5 R's. First, you try to refuse even the material becoming a waste.
Oh, interesting.
You understand?
Wow.
Yes. Yes, you can this, by behavioral and attitudinal behavior, you can decide that if you don't need this plastic, you don't have to buy it.
Wow.
Right from inception, you don't need to buy it. You don't need to buy that which is going to cost you money to dispose. If you have an alternative, you use the alternative.
Okay.
So you refuse even allowing that waste to come into being in the first place. And then you try to reduce the waste. If you're to go to a grocery shop and then you want to buy like 10 items, you don't have to bag the 10 items in different nylon bags.
Okay.
You could decide to put everything in one bag.
Okay.
Instead of having 10 different bags that you're going to want to dispose later, it could just be one.
I'll buy a big basket. I'll prefer a basket that I can always use.
At that point, you've reduced the waste that will have
resulted from that purchase.
You understand that?
So we're actually buying wastes.
We actually
a lot of times.
We actually create waste.
Create it.
You understand? So,
okay.
And then you try to also reuse. You understand? Avoid single-use items, single-use plastics. You understand? You could buy containers and put your water, and then reuse them again and again and again for a longer period.
Okay.
That way, you sort of reduce what will have amounted as waste.
And save money as well.
And then save money as well. And then you repurpose. There are so many things that you could do with the items that you've bought or you're using by upcycling them.
Okay.
You can turn them into other products by repurposing their use.
Sure.
Making instead of now discarding them as waste, you can now repurpose their purpose. And then it now comes to the final, which is the recycling.
Okay.
Where most of the components of waste can now be recycled into other products. For example, this plastic in front of me now, you understand, they can be recycled and be used to make the weave-on that you're using to make your hair.
Wonderful.
Even the clothes that you're wearing, the sheets and all that, they are transformed into fibers, and then with fiber they can make anything. And then in that recycling chain, a lot of things can happen. People can get money.
That's right.
You understand? Well, as they pick up the plastics, you understand, most of the recycling companies and recycling hubs have recycle banks that you take these plastics to those places and they are converted to money.
Wow.
So the government of Professor Charles Kumasulu is encouraging this, because we also know that the just transition to zero waste has recycling as its main focus.
Okay.
You understand? So that the amount of waste that now gets to the dump sites or that now gets to the landfills will be reduced, because people now hold on to this and then take them to the recycling hubs or the recycling companies who now convert these things to money. Then the person gets money, the state gets cleaner, and the materials are taken as resource for other products.
Wow. There's something that popped into my head just listening to you. A lot of times we blame waste managers not knowing Naniso booted the problem, because if they have just a reasonable number to manage quantity, or they not fair, or they easier for them, if we're doing the right thing, it will be easier to manage waste. Why did I say this? There's a comment here which I see as a contribution. We see people sweep the roads, from Robert and Aboso. We see people sweep the roads. We also see people clean up the gutters, but the refuse is dumped just near the gutters without being packed away. Is there no way where tippers can be deployed at the same time as the gutters are cleaned up to pack away immediately?
Yeah, remember, around February this year, the government of Anambra said to the Minister of Environment, issued a public notice we made the people to understand that the rains are coming. And that the law stipulates that owners of buildings and households must desil
their gutters.
their gutters.
Okay.
Now, the thing there is that the law stipulates that they must keep their drainages in front of their houses free of any encumbrance. But we all know that that is not the case, because they now allow their drainages to get silted. When you now ask them to now do the needful as the law stipulates, it becomes hard. They now tell you, okay, they can desilt, but they won't evacuate.
Oh,
Okay?
that's what happens.
Yes,
Okay.
but if they had obeyed the law and constantly kept their drainages free of encumbrance, it won't come to a point whereby the thing becomes so cumbersome
That they
for them
can
to deal
manage.
with, that they can manage.
Okay.
Okay. So, but what we're doing is this: we categorize some of these areas. We have the organized areas, we have the unorganized areas. Okay. We now have the public areas, and then we have the large canals. Then the organized areas have the organized markets.
Okay.
Okay, and they organize the landlord associations and layouts. These areas already have an association handling the welfare of the residents. We mandate them to evacuate, you understand, to desil and evacuate, because already they are organized. Then areas that are not organized, okay, they're desil, and then we'll try to get the TC chairman to evacuate those ones, because we all know that the people will not be able to evacuate the ones that they brought out of the gutters. Okay. Then we now have the areas where you have the public areas where you can't get anybody to desil. It's now the responsibility of the government to now deal with those areas, to desil those areas and evacuate them. Okay. Then the large canals. So what we're doing now is, but the amazing thing is that people responded, unlike before. You see people now desilting by themselves, evacuating the rubbish that is inside the drainages in front of their place by themselves. And this is a plus. It's one thing to issue a directive, it's another thing to see the people carry it out. But what we've seen this period in Anambra City is that people are now, their behaviors are now changing.
Oh.
You understand? And it's something that is amazing and it's remarkable, because it's wanting to try to get a man to change his behavior.
Yes.
Even without even really pushing him so hard. But there are some that are very stubborn, you understand, that will not want to yield. Those ones we now have to enforce using the enforcement agency of the ministry, which is Osha Brigade.
Okay.
We get to have there was a market that we sealed, because we kept telling them over and over again to desil and evacuate. But we now went there one morning and then sealed the market and then forced them to do the needful. Okay? So those ones that are stubbornly defiant, we enforce. We make sure that they do the needful, they desil and they evacuate. So I want to assure Anambra that they should continue doing the needful. Even though that probably the local government authorities have not come to evacuate, we'll make sure that they will come to evacuate those ones that were desilted. They should not give up, they should not lose hope. They should continue doing the right thing.
The remarkable thing is that this is work in progress, and we are making progress.
Exactly.
Because if behavior is changing, then there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We want to appreciate you, Honorable Commissioner Engineer Dr. Felix Odimegwu, for making it this early to the studio. Thank you very much. The green cap, I don't know if we should in Welozo, because I love it, really. It's a reminder of where we are going. Thank you so much. Finally, as we wrap up. And of course, don't worry, we have a spoken word poet waiting to thrill us with something small before we go into the next discussion. But the commissioner has something for us, something to tell us before he leaves.
Yes, Anambra Kademo. Government is soludo, but government Ibalenyaka. Or government Ibale transform Anambra State. Or government Ibale Anambra dictate to Anambra Kwesisuede. I know you know Obuna, Bonya Anambra. Can support to all this government fully. The government here, Bialo, Anambra Wedema, Anambra Chake,
Dalo, Honorable Commissioner, thank you so much for being here this morning.